Dust on my boots, blood under my nails, riding from a past that never fails. Every mile I run, I feel the weight. The ghost behind me never hesitate. A broken heart tied tight with steel, a debt too heavy time can't heal. Now there's gun smoke burning in my chest, fire in my lungs and pain I can't suppress. I'm a sinner riding with a bullet fade, running from a life I can't erase. Every breath feels like the devil's breath. Gun smoke burning in my chest. I left a woman crying in the midnight rain. Her tears still echo like a loaded train. A silver cross hanging on a rusted chain reminds me why I carry all this pain. No place to run, nowhere to hide. Every shadow looks like death beside. The trigger's cold but my heart's on fire, living fast on broken wire. Now there's gun smoke burning in my chest, fire in my lungs and pain I can't suppress. I'm a sinner riding with a bullet fade, running from a life I can't erase. Every breath feels like the devil's breath. Gun smoke burning in my chest. If I don't die tonight, I swear I'll pay for every soul I burned along the way. But if I fall beneath this dying sky, tell her I loved her. Tell her why. Now there's gun smoke burning in my chest, desert wind howling like unrest. If heaven's watching from the west, lay me down where the sun sets, with my sins carved deep into my flesh. Gun smoke burning in my chest. Gun smoke burning in my cold on this forgotten trail, moonlight bleeding through the iron rail. I feel the weight of every sin I own, carved like names on a graveyard stone. My hands still shake from the fire I fed, silhouettes of the damned inside my head. Every heartbeat feels like thunder rolling slow. Every step reminds me what I used to know. This is a prayer carved in rusted steel, for every wound that time could never heal. Blood on my soul, dust on my faith, running from judgment I can't escape. If heaven's listening through the wheel, face in the candle glow. A silent goodbye I'll never let go. The cross she gave me hangs heavy and cold, a weight that mercy will never hold. My shadow's long in the dying light. I ride alone into the endless night. God knows I tried to wash my hands clean, but the stains stayed darker than they've ever been. This is a prayer carved in rusted steel, for every wound that time could never heal. Blood on my soul, dust on my faith, running from judgment I can't escape. If heaven's listening through the wheels, hear a prayer carved in rusted steel. If I fall before the dawn breaks red, burn my name where the outlaws bled. Let the wind carry what's left of me, and bury the rest beneath the Joshua tree. This is a prayer carved in rusted steel. Last breath shaking like a turning wheel. Lay my gun down where time stands still. Let forgiveness be my final will. When my heartbeat finally fails, remember a prayer carved in rusted steel. Carved in rusted steel. Ashes falling like a black snowstorm. The sky's on fire and the sun ain't warm. I left my blood on the canyon stone, a bullet waiting with my name carved on its bone. The church bell rang as the silence broke. Now I'm a dead man riding through the smoke. The wind screams loud like the wounded cry, but I ain't stopping till the day I die. I'm a dead man riding through the smoke, through the fire where the angels choke. A dead man riding through the smoke, with a heart too numb and a soul on broke. A dead man riding through the smoke, no prayers left, no second hope, just the sound of hooves where the shadows flow. A dead man riding through the smoke. I feel the ghost riding right behind, brothers falling that I couldn't save in time. The pistol's heavy like the guilt I bear, this cold hand tangled in my hair. The devil grins with the words he spoke. You'll die, dead man riding through the smoke. Every mile burns deeper in my bones. This road is paved with shattered souls. I'm a dead man riding through the smoke, through the fire where the angels choke. A dead man riding through the smoke, with a heart too numb and a soul on broke. A dead man riding through the smoke, no prayers left, no second hope, just the sound of hooves where the shadows flow. dead man riding through the smoke. If I fall tonight beneath this blood red sky, don't you dare lay flowers where I lie. Let the thunder crack in the mountains.
Hello everyone. Hope everyone is doing well today. Hello. I would say it was fine day. It's doing alright. I'm pretty tired, but I'm here to stream to the masses. To hang out with my peoples. Hello, Gig. Oh, oofta. What has everybody been up? What has everyone been up to today? Noel, how you doing? Nice to see you again. Hello, Tactical.
My boots are worn, my soul is torn from every battle I've survived before. The wind whispers sins I can't deny. Every mile I go, I hear
Yeah. We'll be doing some video reactions today. Okay, let me situate myself here. I didn't know yawns were contagious through video. You got me with that one. Yeah, they're contagious no matter what. They're a niche. Daily grind, mostly ACs. I didn't get to sleep till probably around midnight, so I only got like 3 or 4 hours of sleep, so I'm pretty tired. Hello, Kuda. All right. I'll probably be yawning quite a bit. Tired. I haven't eaten since around... Oh, what is it? I haven't eaten since like 8:20 this morning. Yes, I'm tired. I might wait for you to go on a tangent, then boom, who knows? Alright, first video we have here is from the channel called Visual Venture. And it's called Evil Human Experiments That Actually Happened. So, let us venture into these experimentations that have actually happened.
The CIA knew that it was breaking, every moral, ethical, and legal law in the books to do these experiments.
The most embarrassing aspect of the whole story was that the final results for this cruel test were not even noteworthy.
He says he's not going to go on. Please continue.
He says he doesn't want to go on.
We must continue.
Today, experiments have strict rules to protect people, but that wasn't always the case. In the past, researchers experimented on people without considering the consequences, and the damage often lasted a lifetime. In this video, we'll explore evil human experiments that actually happened, starting with the unsettling cases and ending with the most horrifying. So it is the new year, guys, and I want to encourage you guys to be the best version of yourself.
Experimentations. They're such a lovely thing, are they not? I mean, there are fun experiments, there are horrid experiments, there are weird ones. So, I mean, I can understand experiments are needed, but you gotta... There has to be a line somewhere that shouldn't be crossed, and yet it's routinely crossed.
So you can be, and it would mean the world if you subscribe, and I promise to do my best to make the best videos I possibly can for you. I'm Visual Venture and you are awesome. MK Ultra. For years, the MK Ultra experiment sounded like...
I've only heard of MK Ultra, or I've heard of the name when I was watching the show Bones. But other than that, all I really know it's like some governmental conspiracy thing. I don't know. I mean, an experiment to make cat girls or a 1-to-1 Ghislaine, sign me up. I think that'd be pretty cool to have demi-humans in real life.
Like a made-up story. Many believed it was simply too cruel to be real. But in 1973, the truth came out. Declassified CIA files confirmed that MK Ultra actually happened, and it involved illegal human experiments.
It was the most secret program ever conducted by the CIA in the United States.
Ted Kaczynski was victim of it. I don't even know what MK Ultra is, but I guess I'm gonna find out.
But the worst part was not how extreme the experiments were. It was that people were forced to take part in it. MK Ultra officially began in 1953. At that time, the CIA believed other countries were developing brainwashing and mind control techniques, but there was no evidence to confirm this. But the agency didn't want to fall behind, so they launched MK Ultra. The goal was clear: find ways to erase the memory and then control the mind.
Can we actually control a person's personality? Can we make them behave in certain ways, make them do something?
MK Ultra quickly grew into a massive operation. It included more than 150 separate projects. These projects took place in universities, hospitals, and even in public. And some of the methods were so inappropriate that keeping this a secret became necessary.
The CIA knew that it was breaking, every moral, ethical, and legal law in the books to do these experiments.
One of the CIA's main tools was mind-altering drugs. Researchers wanted to know whether dosing people made them eat.
God, that's it. I'm going to YouTube. Twitch is non-stop lagging on me. I'm sorry if it's lagging. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I think it's weird. Like, we regular citizens can get into a lot of trouble if we do, you know, horrid shit like this. But it seems to be like it's okay if it's like governmental officials, like they can get away with doing horrid shit. Like, what the hell?
Easier to control.
Even people in the public were given drugs without their awareness or consent and experimented upon.
But secretly dosing people sometimes ended in disaster. Frank Olson's story is a perfect example. Olson was a scientist working with US intelligence. In 1953, he attended a meeting with colleagues. During that meeting, the CIA spiked Olson's drink with a truth serum. He had no idea. Agents stood nearby and watched how it affected him. When the substance took effect, Olson became emotionally unstable. A witness described him as disoriented. The effect lasted for days. 1 week later, Olson was staying at a hotel. He suddenly woke up in the middle of
In all honesty, you cannot convince me that the leftist mindset is not a form of MK Ultra. You know, I wouldn't be surprised at this point, Kura, if it was. Considering how, like, out of this world nuts they are, and how they're trying to force their rhetoric down everybody's throats, it wouldn't surprise me. Well, did a whole Let's Lie to Blackman and Syphilis about treatment, experiment US. I think I know what will be in top 3.
the night and ran around the room in his
It is. Look up Operation Mockingbird. Hello, Luna. Hello, Happy.
underwear. Then he fell from a hotel window. He didn't survive. But Olson wasn't the only victim of MK Ultra. Many MK Ultra experiments took place in hospitals and psych wards. The patients were already vulnerable. Instead of receiving proper care, they were treated like guinea pigs. MK Ultra doctors wanted to learn how to erase memories.
And he thought that if you could bring a person back down to a blank slate, remove all the environmental inputs that have been put into them, and then you can build them back up in your image into whatever you want them to be.
The methods used were too extreme for me to describe.
You know, I think when it comes to manipulating somebody, you know, mentally or doing any sort of this kind of stuff, it would probably be easier on people who are not so mentally strong or strong-willed, because those people, their defenses are so high that it's just difficult to do anything with them. You'd have to go after people who are not mentally well, mentally unstable, who are very vulnerable because they have no defenses. I will also add that I have no thoughts of self-harm, and if I disappear, it was... Anyways. Ow. MK Ultra took a new name, Project Monarch, which was part of a bigger operation. Hello, Delvanus. They do it while they're children. Yeah, children are quite easy to manipulate because... yeah. They use satanic sexual abuse to break people when they were children. The extreme abuse is what forces a split personality. They then train the altered personality by way of either color or sound. I know you're not sorry, Lunar. You're just doing your job. It's how they create assassins. I'm not strong-willed. One word from Harble or Runya, and I'm putty. Yes. I sometimes believe the humanity is like just as bad, if not worse, than actual demons, considering how evil we can be. When it comes to how they interact with children, I start thinking of flour mills. Yeah, millstone. I've researched this shit for years. Damn happy.
Many patients didn't understand what was happening. That made it nearly impossible for them to refuse. By the time patients were discharged, they were seriously affected. Experiments also took place in...
I think a lot of them are also turned into sleeper cells, or sleeper agents. Like they're all normal and everything, and that at like the drop of a signal, that it could be a sound or a word or emotion or whatever, and instantly they revert to what they were programmed to be. The people who perform this type of shit worship demons. Zealots of Remfon. I don't know what Remfon is.
prisons. Inmates were given substances and their reactions were closely monitored. The program continued for nearly 10 years, and so many of the things they did were illegal.
They were also experimenting with aerosol LSD. Like, can we disperse it into a crowd? Can we disperse it over a city? What does it do in water supplies? And just some insane stuff.
In 1963, the CIA officially ended MKUltra. This was the explanation recorded inside the CIA director's office.
His office reported, "The concepts involved in manipulating human behavior are found by many people, both within and outside the agency, to be distasteful and unethical."
After the program ended, the CIA director ordered most MKUltra files destroyed. The goal was to keep the experiments hidden, but that plan failed. A few years after it ended, a reporter found out about the program and blew the whistle.
In 1974, Seymour Hersh exposed the MKUltra program when he wrote...
No, but anybody involved in MKUltra should have just been in prison for the rest of their natural fucking life. Return to Agartha. I don't know what that is either. The Star of Remfon is what is on Israel's flag. Oh, okay. The star has no actual association with David at all. The finders are just one leg of how many that locate and grab people to use.
about it for the New York Times.
The article caused public outrage. Soon after, Congress launched an investigation. The CIA was forced to admit the truth.
During those hearings, the CIA finally admitted that this program existed. They admitted that it was probably not the right thing to do, but they feigned innocence.
By then, most of the records were destroyed. That meant the full scope of MKUltra would never be known, and victims were left without justice. Up next is an experiment.
I hate the fact that nobody seems to have the spine to go after these people, to imprison them for, I would call these things crimes against humanity. None of those people deserved to walk away from what they've done. That was just, that kind of shit should be on like the Geneva Convention. I feel sorry for anyone with the name of Seymour. Especially their last name. It's why I'm so protective of my children. Yeah. It's horrible that none of these people were able to get justice for what happened to them. And it's retarded that the government basically just didn't do shit except acknowledge the fact that it existed and did happen. You're going to be surprised about that, actually. These documentaries are preparing the public for what is about to drop.
That intentionally instilled fear in people. The Landis facial expression experiment.
The
In
fuck is that?
1924, psychologist Carney Landis began a study on human reactions. He wanted to know if everyone makes the same face when they feel the same emotion, like fear, disgust, and so on. I mean, it was a reasonable question, but in trying to find the answer, Landis created one of the most horrifying experiments ever, and those who suffered most were his test subjects. Landis recruited young college students for the study. On paper, the plan was simple. He was going to trigger emotions like disgust and joy and capture them on camera.
So he needs to get you to feel emotions to get a picture of your face.
The first thing he did was paint thick black lines
Hope you're doing well, Null. Nice to see you here.
across each volunteer's face. He said the markings would help track facial expressions in photos. Next, he mounted a camera on the wall. It was positioned to capture everything. At this point, it still looked like a normal psychology study, but things were about to get dark. Landis wanted to see the face people made when they felt uncomfortable. To trigger that reaction, he showed volunteers a set of unsettling images.
Then he shows you medical photos of people with horrendous skin conditions.
The volunteers were clearly distressed, and the camera recorded every reaction. Next, Landis moved on to fear.
Then he goes behind a curtain and sets off a firecracker to capture on film the exact moment of your fright.
He didn't just use firecrackers. Landis also fired a weapon close to the volunteers. Once again, his goal was to capture the exact moment of their fright. Then the experiment escalated. Landis told the volunteers to close their eyes and stick their hands into a metal bucket. Inside, they felt something slimy. The bucket was full of live frogs, kicking and squirming. Landis recorded their expressions, but he wasn't finished. He instructed them to...
That would be really weird if you were just blindfolded and told to stick your hand in a bucket and you just started feeling something really slimy. And I mean, you can't know what it is, but I think I'd be pretty relieved to find out it was just frogs. For lurking. No, lurk all you want. I welcome any and all lurkers. How you doing, Tex Gremlin?
search the bottom of the bucket for an object.
So after searching for through all these frogs for some time, finally the participant found their surprise.
Their hands touched a live electrical coil. An electrical shock ripped through their bodies.
So the participants were also getting shocked by that time, and that time they were facial expressions were also recorded.
Still, Landis wasn't satisfied. He wanted stronger reactions. Landis brought out a small mouse. It was alive. Then he ordered each volunteer to end the mouse.
And if they didn't, he would do it for them in front of them while they watched.
Almost everyone asked Landis.
This guy just sounds really sadistic. It is both amazing and at this point not surprising to know that there are these type of people that exist. I understand you want to find this stuff out, but at the expense of people, just I don't get how these people are allowed to continue to do what they do.
If he was joking. They quickly realized he wasn't. Landis wanted to take a photo of their faces as they carried out the act. Many volunteers refused at first, but Landis pressured them. One by one, most of them gave in. About 1/3 refused to do it themselves, but Landis didn't let them off the hook. Landis did it himself. He made them watch. The camera clicked again and again. The experiment was over. Now it was time to assess the results. After triggering all of these emotions, Landis reviewed the photos, and he found no clear pattern. There was no typical facial expression for any emotion. Fear, disgust, and shock looked different from person to person. In fact, smiling was the most common reaction even during unpleasant experiences. When Landis published his findings, many people criticized how the volunteers were treated. The part involving the mouse caused the most outrage. That's why today, the Landis facial expression experiment is remembered for its cruelty, not its science. Up next is an experiment that had
you know, with those times are horrible, man. They don't anymore. Most of them were executed. What a time to be alive back then, and having to deal with these psychotic people who were, you know, free in society.
lasting consequences on a child. The little Albert experiment.
Children. This is, look, adults are able to take this shit a lot easier than any other age range, but children, Really? Children? That's like one thing that shouldn't be touched, is anything to do with children. Unless it's, how to help them, how to make their lives easier, better, how to make them healthier, stuff like that. Unless it's something like in that range, just leave children alone.
Fear is a survival tool. It warns us when danger is
Their goal is to break what is sacred.
near. But for decades, psychologists argued about where fear comes from. Are we born with it, or does the world teach us what to fear? In 1920, two researchers decided to stop debating and find out for themselves. They wanted to train someone to fear something specific, even if that thing was harmless. Before the experiment could begin, they ran into a major issue. They couldn't use adults. Adults already have memories and life experiences, so they know what's scary and what isn't. The researchers needed someone with no sense of what could be scary. Ideally, they needed a baby. The researchers eventually found
Well, of course a baby doesn't know what's scary or what to fear. They have no sense of fear or most of the emotional range or the emotional spectrum. They have no sense of anything. If anything, the biggest sense they have is curiosity, because they don't understand what's in the world around them. So they go up to what looks interesting, they grab onto, shove it in their mouth, or do whatever they can to find out what it is, because they're curious. They're tiny children. If you hurt kids, you're going to hell. Not sorry. Nothing will make me angrier than someone who would voluntarily hurt or harm children. Yeah.
a baby in the hospital where they worked. His mother was a nurse at the same hospital. The baby's real name was never recorded. In the study, he was called Albert B. Albert was only 9 months old. The researchers planned to teach him fear. To do this, they used a method called classical conditioning. Here's the concept. If you pair something harmless with something frightening, the brain may link the two. If you repeat that pairing enough times, the brain learns a new rule. This object means danger. The researchers decided to test this idea on little Albert. They began by showing him a white lab rat. Albert showed no fear. He tried to touch the rat. Next, they showed him a rabbit, a dog, and a monkey. None of the animals frightened him.
First, as you see here, the investigators demonstrated that prior to conditioning, little Albert had no fears of any animals.
At that point, the scientists needed a way to trigger fear.
Well, yeah, none of those animals are naturally dangerous, as long as you don't try to harm them or piss them off. You're about to see the kind of monsters these people are front and center. You haven't seen the worst of the Epstein. We are but playthings to those who think they are above, but alas, they still end up in a box or as ash at their end. Huh.
Struck a steel bar using a hammer. The noise startled Albert and he burst into tears. Now they knew what made him scared. The researchers showed Albert the rat again. He smiled and reached for it just like before. At that exact moment, they made the loud noise again.
In the conditioning phase of the study, which was not filmed, the investigators struck a steel bar with a hammer whenever Albert reached for a rat.
Albert heard the noise and cried. To strengthen the connection, they repeated the process. After several rounds, the scientists finally got the result they wanted. Albert didn't need to hear the noise anymore. Seeing the rat alone made him cry.
The investigators believed that the child's reaction during this trial demonstrated his newly acquired fear of white rat.
They successfully taught a baby to fear something specific, but the experiment wasn't over yet. The researchers wanted to see if Albert's fear would transfer to similar objects. So they placed a rabbit in front of Albert. It was white and furry, just like the rat. Albert cried. Next, they brought in a dog and a monkey. He cried again. It seemed Albert was scared of anything soft, white, or furry. They even showed him a Santa Claus beard, and he burst into tears. The researchers planned to remove the fear later, but they never got the chance. Albert's mother suddenly left the hospital with her child. Maybe she realized something was wrong. No one knows for sure. What we do know is this: Albert never received treatment to reverse the fear. For decades, Albert's identity remained a mystery. Researchers only knew he was born around 1919. Finally, in 2014, investigators believed they finally identified him. They concluded concluded that he was a man named Albert Barger. They wanted to interview him, but they couldn't. Albert already passed away at the age of 87. Instead, they spoke with his family. They described Albert as gentle and calm, but there was something strange about him. Albert couldn't stand being around animals. It was so bad that family members had to keep their dogs in a separate room when he visited. If Albert Barger was really little Albert, it's possible that the fear from the experiment never faded. The little Albert experiment showed that fear can be learned through classical conditioning, but the fact that they used a baby was just wrong. This next case answered,
God, that's just horrible. That sucks that he grew up with like a fear of things that were fluffy and soft and just that stuff like that shouldn't, you shouldn't be experimenting on, you know, infants. That is really crossing a line. I'm sorry. It's like if anybody tried experimenting with, if I had a kid and somebody tried experimenting with them, they're not going to like how I'm going to react. You do not experiment with my family. If anyone's going to be experimenting with my family, like my brother, I'm going to be experimenting with my brother. But that's because me and my brother are assholes to each other sometimes. In other words, they still suffer and bleed like us, but they have more insulation from it. However, the inevitable over-horizon will remove that insulation. Crimes against humanity. These people have answered for their atrocities. Have you ever seen TLDR's video Mouse Utopia? I've heard of that experiment, and it didn't turn out like they hoped.
the question, how easily can you make a good person do bad things? The Milgram shock experiment. Most people believe they are good. In the early 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram decided to test that belief.
Stanley Milgram was interested in the psychology of obedience.
Milgram designed an experiment to answer one dark question. Can a good person be pressured into doing something evil simply because their leader or boss orders them to? Milgram's question was inspired by the events of World War II. After the war, many people involved in horrific crimes were put on trial. Almost all of them gave the same excuse. They were just following orders. As a psychologist, Milgram found this blind obedience deeply troubling. He wanted to know if ordinary Americans could also be pressured to hurt others.
I think when it comes to the military, there is a clause that lets you disobey an order, but there has to be I think there has to be a specific set of circumstances that allows you to disobey a direct order from your superiors. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I would have to ask my father because he was in the military for 30 years, but I think there might be a way to disobey orders, but it has to be like a specific set of circumstances. You can disobey an unlawful order. Well, yeah, unlawful. Yeah, I'm just, you know, the order has to be illegal. Ask Silas. He was military. Actually, let's see if he's in the. No, he's not. He's not over there right now. It's very specific. Yeah. I wonder. Hey Siri. Call Dad mobile.
Calling Dad mobile.
Let's see if my dad can answer.
Hello.
Hey Dad.
Hey.
I had a question because I'm reacting to a video on stream, and it's about evil human experimentations that have actually happened, and somebody was doing an experiment to see if you can get somebody to do an awful thing, and this guy decided to do this experiment because he was disturbed from soldiers from World War II who just blindly obeyed their superiors, saying that they were just following orders, and these were the people who were tried for crimes after World War II. And a question came up in my mind, and I was wondering, other than an unlawful order, is there any other circumstances that allows you to disobey a direct order?
Well, well, that's basically it. I mean, if you're told to do something that is not, that you know to be not right, then that's basically an unlawful order. So if you're in war and you have, you win a battle and you have prisoners of war, and your immediate superior tells them, well, just gun them down. Well, that's not right. That's unlawful.
Okay.
Even though he gives you that order, you just can't do that. They gave up. They surrendered. You cannot, just gun them down because your superior told you to.
Okay. Yeah, I figured that I figured I'd ask you, since you were in the Army for 3 decades, that because I didn't know if there was anything other than an unlawful order that lets you disobey a direct order given specific circumstances other than unlawful. But if it's just unlawful, then I guess it's the only thing.
It's basically unlawful. Like, you can't, target civilians who aren't in war. Anything that's, wrong like that, that's immediately unlawful.
Okay.
I mean, there's no distinction. You can't say, well, this is an order and this is an unlawful order. That's, if that order is wrong and is against basic human dignity and the rules of war, well, then it's unlawful.
Okay.
That's all there is to it.
Okay. Well, I figured I'd call and ask you because, I'm reacting to this video with a bunch of other people watching me on stream, so you're the only other expert I know when it comes to this since you were in the military.
Well, I'm no expert on law, but I know that stuff like that, you just, if somebody tells you to do that and they're your superior, you're like, no, that's unlawful and I won't do it.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for answering that, Dad.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Did Grandma say anything for Easter dinner at all?
I think we're looking at April 18th.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't. Want to make sure it wasn't next weekend because I'm doing a birthday marathon stream.
Oh, no. Not. They weren't doing anything that weekend because I'm not going to be around.
Okay.
I'll be in Texas that weekend.
Going to Texas, huh?
Yeah. Another wedding.
Oh, who's getting married this time?
Oh, it's Kelly's cousin's kid. That's all I know.
Okay. People in my chat are saying hi to you.
Oh, well, hi.
You're on speaker so they can all hear you.
Oh, I see. All right.
All right, well, thanks for answering the question, Dad.
No problem.
All right, talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, well that answers that then. Yeah. Originally, Dad was supposed to retire after 28 years, but they wanted to promote him before he retired, so they sort of put off his retirement thing, and he was just like, no, I don't want their promotion, just retire me. So they retired him after 30 years. But I guess that answers that. Other than the only way you can disobey a direct order is if it's unlawful and for no other reason. So, yeah. I guess you all got to hear my father for the first time. There is sometimes a difference between what we might see as morally correct versus legally correct. That's why we have strict rules of engagement and things like the Geneva Convention. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, if I remember correctly, the main reason why the Geneva Convention was created was because of fucking Canada. The fucking Canadians, man. The Canucks. Oops. We're sorry. Despite how polite Canadians are supposed to be, they are the main and they are the major reason why the Geneva Convention was created, because of the amount of atrocities they did. Thank you for the hydrate. I will hydrate with Barks root beer. All right, back to this.
Stanley
Psychology of obedience.
Milgram designed an experiment to answer one dark question. Can a good person be pressured into doing something evil? Sense of world. All of them gave obedience to others.
Decided to see how...
Okay, there we go. Now we're back where we were. You should drink more water, dear. Yep, Canada was doing some shit. Father Lupis, it's nice to see you. What do you mean, despite? It's why we have two. But we're getting tired of being labeled pushovers last decade. Yeah, well, I'm glad you all enjoyed hearing my father. And thank you for saying to... thanks for saying thank you to my dad. He never really went on tours or anything. He was more reserves. He was active for the first 2 years, but that's because you have to sign... when you first join, you have to sign up for active duty for the Army. I'm not sure about the other branches, but after the 2 years, he went over to his reserves. He has a kind voice. He is a very kind man. I've told people that if I'm ever to become a father, I hope to become a father like my dad was to me. He's a great guy. It's never a war crime the first. Pretty much. The first time. Likewise, been lurking for a few minutes. My phone died. Did I miss my comment being discussed? It was no. I called my dad to ask about the question with the Army. That's pretty much all you missed. I hope so too, Happy. I hope I will. Of course, service members deserve respect and kindness as someone who grew up in a military family as well. Yeah, both of my grandpas... my grandpa was in World War II as far as I'm aware, and my other grandpa, I think, was also in a war. But yeah, both my grandpas were in the military. My dad was in the army, and originally I was going to go into the army, but I was told at the time when I was 19 that I had to either lose 25 pounds or 2 inches off my waist, and I just never did because I'm so lazy. My grandpa served on the 34th parallel in Korea. His brother fought in the end of World War I and start of World War II, I think, if I'm remembering that right. There's so many military people here.
Subjects would react when a researcher pushed them to do things that went against their morals.
The first step was selecting volunteers for his experiment. He put out an ad offering $4 for 1 hour of their time, but Milgram turned away and...
Just think, $4. That was a lot of money back then. $4 back then. That was a lot of money.
Anyone with a violent history or criminal record. He wanted everyday people who knew right from wrong. Once the volunteers were selected, the experiment began. Milgram conducted the study at Yale University, but he lied to the volunteers about the purpose of the experiment.
Volunteers were told they were taking part in scientific research to improve memory.
Each volunteer sat at a desk with a machine in front of them. That machine delivers a shock. Wires connected the machine to a chair in the next room. Each volunteer watched as another man was strapped into the chair. Electrodes were attached to his body. Then a barrier was placed between them. From that moment on, the volunteer could not see the person in the electric chair. The instructions were straightforward. The volunteer would ask a question. The man in the chair would answer. If the answer was wrong, the volunteer pressed a switch and delivered an electric shock.
You're going to read these words out and see if he can remember them. And if he gets it wrong, you hit this button and deliver a shock.
But the shocks weren't all the same.
He was told to increase the voltage with each wrong answer.
That was the task. Press a button and shock another person for making a mistake. Milgram wanted to see how far volunteers would go before they refused.
Cloud, horse, rock, house. Answer. Wrong.
Each shock triggered a reaction from the man in the chair.
Answer. Wrong. 150 volts.
However, there was one more thing
we also got to remember. It's not the voltage that does the damage to the body. It is the amperage behind the voltage that does the damage to the body. You can run a lot of volts through a human body without damaging it. It just depends on how much amperage is behind those voltages. Around $100 in today's currency, if I'm mathing right. Wow, that is a lot. This experiment and one of the other really messed up ones are the reason we now have ethical rules around experimentations. $4 in 1961 adjusted to 2026 is $43.51. Oh, so you were pretty off there, Kuda.
Volunteer didn't know. The man in the chair was an actor. He wasn't actually being shocked. His reactions were fake. As the experiment continued, the actor yelled to stop.
Experiment, that's all. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, please. I refuse to go on. Let me out.
At this point, the volunteers hesitated.
He says he's not going to go on. Please continue.
He says he doesn't want to go on.
We must continue.
But the researchers...
Yeah, if I was in this, because of how my morals are, if the person is saying that they don't want to continue and that they want to be let out, and the other person is telling me to continue, I'd be like, no, fuck you, I'm not continuing this. He wants to be let out, let him out. I don't care what the fucking person says. I would let the person out. Stanford prison experiment was the other recent big one. I haven't really heard about a lot of these experiments because I'm not one who really gets into these sort of conspiracy theories or these type of things. I'm just busy reading my manhwa or manga or playing my video games or whatever else. So I don't know a lot of these things.
Insisted they continue.
The experiment requires you continue, teacher. Please continue.
And most volunteers did. They felt they were doing something wrong, but they kept pushing the button.
So the guy keeps getting it wrong, keeps getting it wrong. Around 250 volts, he's screaming.
Some volunteers strongly protested.
I'm not going to kill that man there. I mean, who's going to take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman? I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please.
Eventually, the man in the other room went silent.
I think something's happened to that fellow in there. I don't get no answer.
At that point, the experiment ended. Milgram published the results in 1963.
2/3 of volunteers were prepared.
That's actually 2 years before my dad was born. Do they have a violent criminal record? Yes. Okay, I'll continue. Yeah, see, you know, that... I think it would, for if it's a violent criminal history, I would have to know. See, now that's really a gray area for me, because I'm not really a person who likes to dole out pain onto other human beings if it's not for pleasure, because I'm just not a straight up mean person. Is it Kaya? I'll continue. Hassan, probably. You know, that wouldn't surprise me, Test, if Hassan said something like that.
To administer a potentially fatal electric shock when encouraged to do so.
In total, 65% of volunteers went all the way to the maximum 450 volts. That meant that if the shocks were real, they would have ended the person in the chair. Milgram's experiment proved something disturbing. People don't need to be evil to do harm. Sometimes they just have to be told to do it.
Decent American citizens were as capable of committing acts against their conscience as the Germans had been under the Nazis.
This next case shows how you can cause permanent damage to someone by using only words. The Monster Study. What could make an experiment so disturbing that people called it the Monster Study? The study was created by Wendell Johnson. He was a respected professor at the University of Iowa. Despite his success, he lived with a deep personal struggle. Johnson stuttered a lot. Stuttering is a
All right, have a good one, Delvanus.
Speech impediment that disrupts the normal flow of speaking. Back in the 1930s, doctors believed stuttering was caused by a biological defect. In other words, stutterers were simply born that way. But Johnson had a different theory based on his personal experience.
Apparently, he had spoken normally his whole life until the age of about 5 or 6, when a teacher told his parents that he was starting to exhibit a bit of a stutter.
That comment from his teacher was a trigger. Johnson became anxious about speaking. Over time, he actually developed a stutter.
Looking back, he concluded that it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Had he not been so worried about not developing a stutter and so obsessed over his speech, he never would have become a stutterer.
Johnson wanted to prove that stuttering was caused by negative feedback, not biology. To do this, he needed kids he could study without interference. In 1939, Johnson walked into an orphanage and told the staff a lie. He said he wanted to give the children speech therapy. The staff agreed, thinking Johnson was there to help. Johnson ran the study with his graduate student Mary Tudor. Together, they selected 22 kids. Some were stutterers, others were not. The researchers divided them into 4 groups. The first group was made up of kids who already stuttered. The goal was to help them feel calm so that their stuttering stopped, so the researchers praised them all the time. Everyone in the second group was also a stutterer. In this case, the researchers wanted them to feel anxious so their stutter would worsen, therefore they were criticized constantly. The third group was full of children who spoke normally. They were praised and encouraged to keep speaking just the way they were. Then there was the final group. These children spoke perfectly before the study, but the researchers wanted to make them start stuttering. To achieve that, they were constantly criticized. They were accused of stuttering even when their words were clear.
They were told, you must try to stop yourself immediately. Use your willpower. Do anything to...
Let's just get orphans. No one will care. God. That is one thing I don't like about a lot of people when it comes to these sort of things. It's like they're when it comes to the kids, their first thought is go to the orphans because nobody will miss them, nobody will care about them, and so on and so forth. It's just like they're still kids. I don't know. Man. Again, I would have been the guy to clothesline the dude doing these studies. I would have kicked his teeth down his damn throat.
Keep from stuttering. Don't ever speak unless you can do it right.
After that, the researchers recorded what happened to each group. The two groups that received negative feedback were deeply affected. The children who already stuttered became more anxious, and just like Johnson predicted, their stuttering got worse. But what about those the researchers were trying to turn into stutterers? Well, that didn't work. The criticism did not make them suddenly start stuttering. However, it shattered their self-confidence.
Every child in this group began to struggle in school. Some of them refused to talk even to their friends.
One was so distressed that she ran away from the orphanage. This clip sums it up well.
The children who were given negative feedback became more withdrawn, self-conscious, and frustrated, whether or not they actually had a stutter to begin with.
When Johnson shared the results with his colleagues, they were horrified. They warned him that publishing the study could destroy his career. According to reports, they were the ones who nicknamed it the monster study. Johnson never published the study. He hid
pretty apt. The dude is, yeah, I would consider the dude a fucking monster. That's just horrible to do to kids. I mean, you destroyed their self-confidence and probably any chance they had to do well, going into teenage or adulthood. I mean, confidence, helps a lot of people go a long way. Destroying someone's self-confidence can do a lot more damage than people realize. The U.S. government did so many experiments on citizens and soldiers secretly. Our government is full of evil bastards. Helena Blavatsky wrote about people who, so to speak, were empty vessels. They had no souls.
the documents and hoped his actions would stay buried.
The children also weren't debriefed after the project was over, and there was no real follow-up on how they may have been affected by the study long term.
When Johnson passed away, he was praised as a respected professor. At that point, no one knew about the orphans, but that changed in 2001. A reporter uncovered records of the monster experiment. When the story became public, people were outraged. Some of the kids from the experiment were still alive. They were now in their 80s. Most claimed they struggled with anxiety and shame. The survivors sued the state of Iowa, which is where the study took place. In 2007, the state paid almost $1 million in compensation. There was no debate. The monster experiment should have never happened. This next experiment got so...
Well, yeah, just because they're orphan kids doesn't make it any less... doesn't make it any more okay to do it on. It's not okay at all. They're fucking kids.
So destructive, it had to be stopped early. The Stanford prison experiment.
Hey, look at that. The one you guys were just talking about.
This experiment was designed to create an atmosphere of oppression. The man behind it was psychologist Philip Zimbardo. For years, Zimbardo studied how people behave in prisons, the military, and even offices. In each place, he noticed the same pattern. People in power often treated others badly. Over time, Zimbardo formed a theory. People didn't commit cruel acts.
I think those who are given too much power end up being corrupted by said power because they believe they're better than everyone around them because of how much power they have. And the power ends up corrupting themselves. I think those who have some power and, slowly but gradually gain more power tend to be less corrupted by it because they know how to control it. They know how to control themselves. But those who gain so much power so quickly have no way to acclimate to it normally and become corrupted by it.
Because they were born evil. They did them because the situation allowed it. Simply put,
Have a
power
good one,
can
Jaded.
bring out the worst in people, but it was only a theory. To test it, he needed to create...
Those who do not want power are ideal for positions of power because they never sought it. Yeah.
An environment where power could be abused. That idea became the Stanford Prison Experiment. Zimbardo built a makeshift prison in the basement of a college building. Cameras were installed to record everything that happened. He added cells, a prison yard, and a guards station. The goal was to make the prison feel real enough to shape behavior. Next, he selected 24 college students to take part in the 2-week experiment. Zimbardo split them up into 2 groups. One group became guards, the other became prisoners. To help the guards feel powerful, Zimbardo gave them whistles, batons, and mirrored sunglasses. The sunglasses hid the guards' eyes, making it easier to act without empathy. Zimbardo never told the guards to be cruel or misuse their power. He simply gave them authority and watched what happened. The prisoners, on the other hand, were stripped of anything personal. They wore identical clothing that erased their individuality. Their names were replaced with ID numbers,
so that they would begin to think of themselves anonymously as numbers and no longer as people with names and identities.
From the start, the imbalance was clear. On the first day, the guards were polite and careful. They still saw the prisoners as fellow students.
This is unbelievable. They took our clothes. Hands off the door.
Soon, the mood began to shift.
On day 2, there was a very sharp change in the whole nature of what was happening in that prison.
The guards started raising their voices. Guards punished prisoners for minor mistakes. Their authority was settling in.
The guards then began to escalate their use of power. Some of them had prisoners clean out toilet bowls with their bare hands.
If a prisoner resisted, they were locked in a small closet. This was their version of solitary confinement. Within the first 4 days, 3 prisoners were so affected that they were released. By the 5th day, the remaining prisoners looked exhausted. When they lined up for inspection, they seemed scared.
You see how he did that, boy? Yes, sir, Mr. Correctional Officer.
The guards acted differently too. They were now tyrannical. It seemed like they forgot that they were just students in an experiment. The situation was out of control. It was just a matter of time before someone got hurt.
And at that point, we said, enough, we have to end this.
The experiment was scheduled to last 14 days, but Zimbardo shut it down on the 6th day. In 1972, Zimbardo talked about his experiment.
It's crazy just how quickly, when you're given somebody who has never had power before that much power, it is amazing how quickly it can corrupt somebody. I mean, considering what happened in this experiment, it corrupted them within just a day. And it corrupted them badly because they saw... They felt like they had all the power and they were not going to be able to get in trouble. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's amazing how fast power and absolute power will corrupt. It's also quite terrifying because it corrupts in different ways too. It can do it very subtly, or it can be a very loud and sharp change. I think the ones that are probably more terrifying, I think the kind of corruption that's probably the scariest one is the one that slowly corrupts without the person realizing that they are being corrupted by their own power. I think it's easier to deal with the people who the power has corrupted very obviously and very loudly. It's easy. I think it's easier to deal with those people. Hey, Nordic.
At conferences. He also released a film showing real footage of what happened. Public reaction was intense. Some people refused to believe the results. They argued that Zimbardo unknowingly selected people who were predisposed to authoritarianism. But others believed the experiment proved Zimbardo's theory. Normal people can change when placed into powerful or powerless roles. Decades later, the Stanford prison experiment is still debated. The consequences of this next experiment affected thousands of people and lasted for decades. Project 4.1.
I haven't heard of this one either.
Project 4.1 was officially described as a medical study. Scientists wanted to understand how radiation affects the human body, but this experiment was never planned in advance. It began because of a disaster. In the early 1940s, the US set out to build the most powerful weapon ever created, a nuclear bomb. But there was only one way to know if they were on the right track. They needed to test the nukes they were making. Testing meant detonation. The military needed a remote location to blow stuff up without drawing attention. They chose the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean.
The Marshall Islands is mostly made.
Hell, even a lot of the people who were on the battleships that were the distance that they were required to be away from the explosion were even affected by the explosion.
Made up of atolls, which are ring-shaped coral reefs with a lagoon in the middle.
But those islands weren't empty. People lived there. Nuclear testing in that region put the locals at risk. But the military moved forward anyway.
Between 1946 and 1958, the US carried out a series of nuclear tests, detonating 67 giant bombs in the Marshall Islands.
The tests continued for years. The explosions grew more powerful. It was just a matter of time before something went wrong. On March 1st, 1954, the military carried out another test.
The shockwave visibly roared across the ocean and hit the camera ship miles away.
But scientists miscalculated the strength of the blast. It was more than twice as powerful as predicted. A cloud of radioactive debris shot into the sky, and it drifted toward the nearby islands.
And then there was the wind. It blew in a different direction than what the scientists expected, and carried nuclear fallout to nearby populated islands.
On the ground, locals noticed something falling from the sky. It looked like powder.
My cousin Erosi, he was on top of a tree whenever the powder fell.
Kids played in the powder, adults touched it. Everyone breathed it in. It got on everything, clothing, food, and even toys that the kids played with. The exposure continued for days. They had no idea that it was toxic. After the fallout, the researchers faced a choice. They could warn the locals and evacuate them, or they could treat it as a research opportunity. Behind closed doors, military leaders and
I'm guessing they went with the research opportunity. Because why the fuck not?
Scientists made their decision. Instead of evacuating the locals, they decided to use them as test subjects. They called it Project 4.1. The US knew the danger that the contamination posed, but didn't share that information with the locals. As health problems began to appear, medical teams arrived on the islands. They claimed they were there to help, and they did provide some medical care, but in reality, they were mostly collecting data.
And after testing nuclear weapons on their islands, the US studied the Marshallese people without their consent.
The experiment continued for years. Findings from Project 4.1 were published in US medical journals. The health effects were studied, documented, and shared. Eventually, the Marshallese became their own nation.
The Marshall Islands gained its independence from the United States in 1979.
By then, many locals already understood they were harmed by the testing. In the 1990s, newly declassified documents revealed more details about Project 4.1. Finally, the world realized how the victims were treated as test subjects. The project was condemned worldwide. Some even believed the radiation exposure wasn't accidental and that it was premeditated. Sadly, decades later, many Marshallese people are still living with the effects of the blast. History taught us a lesson through these experiments. When we treat people like test subjects, we lose our humanity. My friends, progress should never come at the cost of innocent people's lives. So whatever you're building, make sure you're not destroying someone else to get there. Visual Venture. Wait, before you guys go, I have a video where I talk about terrifying cults still operating today. We talk about a cult leader who claimed they delayed the sunrise by 40 minutes, a weight loss program that told people to eat only 10 bites per day, and a bio attack that put 40...
I'm going to add this to my list because that actually sounds interesting. We'll react to this to some other time. But look, experimentations are fine in and of themselves because, you know, how are you supposed to find something out without experimenting? It becomes horrific and ethically, morally, and humanitarianly wrong when we start doing these evil type of experiments on humans and, you know, living creatures. I think the only type of human experimentation we should do is if there is no adverse effect or anything like that, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, when a drug happens, you know, to make sure it's safe, or, you know, I have no idea. Just These are horrible. Horrible things. Horrible experimentations back in the day. Humanity can really be really, really fucking evil. I'm not sure if I can call the prison experiment as bad as the rest. I mean, the guy who did it had college students, told them what they did, and when it evolved badly, they stopped it at day 6 out of 14. I mean, compared to the others presented, it's mild. I'm not even sure if it had lasting effect. Yeah, I'd say out of all the experiments, that one was probably the least inhumane, because they were actual college students that knew what they were getting into. They didn't expect it to turn bad that quickly and that harshly. All right, the next one we have here is by Sir Squintifer, and it is called the Nuxonomicon, Nuxor and Kaya Tribute. So let's check out what this one is about. My God, the quality. Oh my God. I like that armor. Tectone. Oh my God, look at Yasmin. I don't know who the lady is supposed to be, though. Roaches. That's awesome. I like how they got their roaches to look. That's pretty cool.
The book stays open. Life's open. Orcs. You're finished.
That was actually pretty damn good. I like that. Battle roaches, the new Alliance war mount. That'd be pretty cool, honestly. Tectone did say whenever he's portrayed in anything, he always wears black tank tops to keep it lore accurate. Ah. That's pretty funny. Well, I hope it would be Horde too, because I play the Horde because, you know, fuck the Alliance. Alright, next one we got here is from one of my favorite Australian YouTubers. Hello, Opsu. So do we need a wiki for the SCU? It seems to evolve with each passing. I don't know tactical, but it there's a lot. Alright, this is from one of my favorite Australian YouTubers. His name is Isaac Butterfield. He's a great YouTuber. I recommend checking him out. And this video is called Why is TikTok Promoting This? So let's see what TikTok could be promoting.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Fat Talk.
Moody guys, today for breakfast we're gonna be eating.
Mood, today we have a tiny snack for breakfast. Mood, what is your favorite cereal? Mood.
That's a big bowl, big fella. What is he going to put in there? Oreos.
I can devour this like
okay.
Oreos. 5 minutes.
Who is this? This is.
Are we serious with this? We're having a good day, Opsu. We're just this person. I'm just, you know, I'm gonna be real with this entire one. This fat fuck is saying this is cereal. Oreos for cereal. Are you serious? Oh God, no, man. I'm fat and even I feel sick watching that. I'm so glad I do not hate myself that much. Look, I love cereal as much as the next person. I love cereal. I have it whenever the fuck I want. Hell, I have 2 bags of 1 bag each of Cocoa Pebbles and Fruity Pebbles. So, I love cereal. But this is wrong. It's engagement bait. Hello, my ear trumpet.
This is James Bowler. Bowl by name, bowl by nature.
3?
And he is about. Is he really gonna
3?
eat all these?
My mouth is being like so watery right now.
Alright, let's skip through it. Oh no, he's gonna eat it like cereal?
I love it. When the Oreos get all soggy.
That's foul. The moaning.
If you guys could see the face I'm making looking at this. I've met a few people like this. I know a guy who his mother made him a gallon of mac and cheese. and he ate it all and was still hungry. Damn. TikTok loves to put cursed food on to get clicks. This hurts in ways I can't even describe. Just considering his size, I am not sure it is rage bait. Look, I like Oreos. They're good cookies. They're not good for you, but they're good cookies. But this is... Look, if you want to have cookies for cereal, go and get the cereal that's called Cookie Crisp. This is... No. I actually want to cry because you know this man has to hate himself.
It's like he's creaming in the center of these Oreos every bite. He looks like he's actually eating it too, as you skip through.
This is one of the times where I wish this was AI.
Oh, stop moaning, for fuck's sake. Okay, that's James Bowler. Holy shit, he's got an entire TikTok dedicated to this type of fucking sorcery.
Mood. So today for breakfast, we're gonna have a little.
The one thing I gotta give to him is that he's going with the whole moo thing, so that's kind of funny. I'll give him that. That's kind of funny. I like how he's going with the whole moo thing.
Little snack.
A little snack. I bet it's gonna be a fucking big one, mate.
Pancakes. We're gonna have one.
Oh no.
Two.
Please tell me he's not gonna fill that entire fucking plate with pancakes.
Two.
Oh Jesus.
Three.
Okay, 3 pancakes is like a lot, right? That's like a decent meal.
4.
I think in one plate I can eat maybe. Looking at the how thick and big these pancakes are, I can maybe do 3 or 4 pancakes and that's it. I'll probably do 2 or 3, but maybe 4 at the most. They need to be put in an asylum.
5.
Look how thick that 5th one is.
6, 7, 8, 9.
I don't mind watching people eat like a lot of food when they're like, look at like Eric the Electric.
That pizza looks delicious. Oh, I want that pizza. That pizza looks so fucking good. I want that pizza. I have a pizza in my freezer that I'm going to eat after I'm done with the stream. I fucking love pizza. It is one of the greatest foods humanity has ever created. That is probably one of the foods I can eat for the rest of my life and never get sick of.
These type of people, these eating challenge people, like they're quite fit, a lot of them, but they eat a lot of food for these challenges. But when you see someone this big doing it, you're just like, ugh, gross.
The look of horror on the Aussie face. I'm a big guy and I wouldn't dare eat more than 3 pancakes, let alone with syrup. The amount of sugar would make me diabetic.
It's like if you see someone scull like 10 beers in a row, someone who never drinks, you're like, well, that's pretty impressive, all right? But if you're getting drunk as soon as you wake up every morning, that's not impressive, that's just sad.
10 pancakes. Mood, let's prep them. I'm so hungry. Mood, obviously.
That moo is the operative word. Some butter, that's good.
Pancakes are nothing without butter.
Just throw the whole fucking thing on there, bro. That's the move.
I was gonna cut it, but you know what? Just leave all.
Don't cut it. Who's got...
Look, here's the thing. If you're going to have butter with your pancakes and stuff, yeah, I'd say let the butter sit out for a day just so it's soft enough so you can spread it on your pancakes. It really sucks trying to spread butter that's really hard or it's been refrigerated.
Time to cut it.
I'm gonna put some.
That's a...
I get it. He's going to put like half the fucking thing on there, isn't he?
A lot of syrup. You know, if you're eating off a charcuterie board, it's going to be a fucking fair meal.
A little bit of syrup because we're trying to watch our.
You call that a little bit of syrup?
Sugar-free?
Yeah, look at that. That thing used to be filled up to here where his pointer finger is. Look at how much he fucking put on there. Ugh.
And then obviously,
fucking hell, you
I
can
don't
hear
know.
his heart
No.
just go, don't do it, mate. No, no.
I need some milk.
What the fuck are you gonna do with the milk?
You guys.
Okay. I think, okay, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I think it's weird when people put ice in their milk. I personally think that's weird. You know, do what you do, boo. But I think it's weird when people put ice in their milk. But for me personally, I think the best drink to go with something like pancakes is milk. It just, for some reason, pancakes or waffles or French toast, for some reason it just makes the milk taste better. I don't know what it is. That's just ridiculous. No dude is living on sugar blood at this point.
And yes, I drink my milk with ice. Mood, if you want to see me eat all this, go on to the next video. Period. Mood.
This is very much a Nico Avocado situation here. I think I need to do a full video on James Bowler. In the comment
I hope that dude is getting some therapy.
section, write mood like that, and I'll do a James Bowler video because I think we need to do a deep dive into this man's coronary artery disease. Oh, shit. Ah, that's a support beam. Is that a support beam? Throw it up. You got it.
Hang on,
Well
hang on.
done.
Wait. What did that say? Trust the process and wait until the end. I wouldn't even trust myself to be able to hold myself on a fucking pole, and I have some great grip strength. This is the kind of guy who gets half his house torn down to get him outside and into the ambulance. Jesus.
You got it. Well done. Good on you for trying. Don't get me wrong, but that's... How are you supposed to do this? You've got it. Yes. Holy dooly, ladies and gentlemen. Good fucking on you, love. This is great. This is fantastic. I'll tell you why this is fantastic. Because she's getting after it. She's trying. She's working hard. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, if she's doing this kind of thing to, you know, get in shape or, you know, something like that, then I respect that. I don't care how fat you are. If you are doing these kind of activities to improve yourself, more power to you. All the respect to you. I respect that. The one thing the kind of people I cannot stand are those who see these kind of people do these kind of rigorous, labor-intensive kind of activities. These kind of people are doing this to improve themselves or, lose weight, get in shape, all that kind of stuff. The kind of people I can't understand are those who make fun of the people because they are bigger and they see these bigger people doing these activities and they know they're doing it to better themselves, and yet they still make fun of them. I cannot stand those type of people. It's just like you were just a terrible human being. I would learn it to give whoever I end up with a private chauffeur his enjoyment. Strippers use friction with their skin more than strength to hold onto the pole. Well, yeah. That's why you don't see. That's why firefighters don't have a lot of clothes, because they need to slide down it real quick.
Don't get me wrong. There's some tense moments. I'm worried about the ceiling coming down, but she's getting after it.
The one thing I didn't know about these poles is that they turn. That's the one thing I never knew about these things, is that the poles themselves turn. I see a fluffy dude at the gym, video exercising, lifting weights. I don't care who they are. I will tell them I'm rooting for them. Exactly.
I can see what you had for breakfast. But you get...
what you had for breakfast. Oh, God.
And after I'm proud of you. That's great. Ladies and gentlemen, you should never, ever, ever, ever have a crack at someone who is obese, overweight, huge, whatever, when they're trying to be better people. That is not what this video is about. This is not what this channel's about. Okay? Any video where I see someone in a gym who's obese trying to better themselves, fucking good on them. What I hate is people lying that it's healthy to be overweight, that look at how much I'm eating, who cares, it doesn't matter, I'm looking after myself. That's what I fucking hate.
We are going to talk about the body mass index, better known as the BMI.
Dude, I'm so...
Here, all right, here's the one thing about that thing that nobody really understands. You cannot wholly trust the BMI or the body mass index because it doesn't take every single factor into account. Like bodybuilders or powerlifters, they're seen as obese according to the body mass index. So you can't wholly trust the BMI because it doesn't take other factors into account. It gives you a general idea, but you can't fully trust it.
Excited.
Let's not talk shit. Okay, the BMI is like an idea or a graph of where you sit and whether or not you're obese or underweight or whatever. And a lot of people are very critical of it because if you have a lot of muscle mass, it means that you are higher on the BMI. So if you are a bodybuilder, ripped, shredded, giant muscles, you're actually overweight or obese on the BMI. So it doesn't quite work for people, but it is a good general understanding of whether or not someone is obese.
Yeah, they call my brother obese at 220 and he has 10% body fat. Yeah. It's like you just said, it's a good general indicator, but you cannot wholly trust it. They used that shit as a basis of measurement when my ex was in the military. Despite the fact that he was in shape and was PT leader, that fucking BMI thing caused him to fail his PT test when they measured him. Damn.
Or not. For example, this lovely young lady right here, her stomach hangs under her t-shirt, therefore obese.
She has a front butt.
So I'm not even going to listen to you fucking talk shit about the BMI until your stomach is covered by your shirt. End of. Okay, this next one's not a video, but this is from Jenny's Fat and Happy Life. I'm glad you're happy, Jenny. Congratulations. She says that GLP-1s, which is like Ozempic or Manjaro, these type of medications do nothing but erase what makes us human. Let's just listen to this, okay? Just have in the back of your mind who we're talking about here. Actually, you know what? Let's have a look who we're talking about first. This is the beautiful Jenny L. She's fat liberation, plus size accessibility and lifestyle, anti-diet, all that type of shit. And she doesn't like Ozempic because she says that it aims to remove diversity in bodies. Diversity in bodies. She means fat people and not fat people that have always been diverse. No, they're only diverse because you eat too much. It aims to suppress hunger and...
Look. The BMI needs to be a component, not the end-all be-all measurement. Yeah. They said he was too fat. Same for a bunch of other people in his unit. It was bullshit. It needs to be reevaluated. Yeah. Here's the thing when it comes to this obesity thing. There are some people say, well, it's genetics. I think that when it comes to genetics, I think about 1%, maybe less than 1% of people can say that it is because of genetics that they have gotten bigger. Maybe less than 1%. But 99%, 99 point maybe 5 to 9, maybe 99.5 to 99.9% of people, they have no excuse because they are lazy. They eat more than the energy they put out on a daily basis, and they just do not fucking care. You have nobody to blame but your fucking self for the size that you are. You want the easiest way to lose weight is to eat less than the amount of energy you put out on a daily basis. Because doing that, you will inevitably lose weight. If you eat the same amount of energy you put out on a daily basis, you will stay the same. If you eat more, you're going to gain weight over time. That is That is the basic way. You gain, lose, or stay the same. I've said it several times. My arms and my chest and back are buff, but I still have a Buddha belly. Genetics only factor where fat deposits. The rest is eating habits and use of artificial shits in foods that our bodies can't digest well. I've been carefully minimizing my own intake, and it's done wonders for me. Yeah. Like for me, I plan to start going to the gym and everything after my birthday marathon stream. The one thing that I really need to do is quit my addiction to pop, because that is the probably the biggest thing that I have. That is also probably going to be the most difficult thing, is my addiction to pop.
And dull food enjoyment because you have eaten too much over the years and now you are morbidly obese and at a much higher risk of dying than other people. Something culturally enriching. What? Fucking smashing all the calories you can. And so fundamentally human. What? Being huge. And my body isn't there to be hacked, and neither is my life. Fuck off, Jenny. Fuck off! GLP-1 inhibitors and all that type of stuff, they basically slow down your digestion so you don't keep reaching for food. And it also changes the way your mind operates. You're not constantly chasing sugar and all that type of shit. So what it does is it stops you eating so fucking much. That's all it does, okay? Now, there are side effects, but guess what? There are also side effects with being extremely large. So, Jenny, sit the fuck down on this one. I'm sure you're sitting anyway. And let the people who are trying to make their bodies and their lives more healthy take it from here. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further in today's video, this video is brought to you by the great people at Fume. Breaking bad habits is very, very hard, particularly when it comes to habits where you bring your fingers to your mouth, if you know.
What is pop addiction? So yeah, pop. Not soda, pop. It's pop, not soda. And for those in the South, it's not Coke. It's pop. Whatever you drink in a normal day, drink half that next day. If you need it, I can always throw words of encouragement anytime you need it. I have lost over 30 kilos, 60-ish pounds the last few months. This is going to be tough. Sugar, caffeine, and taste are all addictions. Yeah. And it really sucks. I've been drinking pop for over 20 years, so yeah, it's going to be difficult.
Over 5,000 calories a day to support my metabolic and thyroid. 5,000 this video. You look happier. Thanks. I started eating over 5,000 calories a day to support my metabolic and thyroid health.
I hate when people say, I have a thyroid problem. No, you have a retarded problem of shoving food down your gullet and having no control over your impulses. It's not a thyroid problem, you dumb bitch.
Okay, she also says, I may need more than 5,000 calories. Let's have a little bit of a look into whoever the fuck this is. Remember, a calorie is energy. And if you have too much energy, it gets stored. It gets stored as fat. Now, someone that looks like, what? She's like 5'6" or something, 5'5". She doesn't look like a giant person.
Yet.
She does not need 5,000 calories. She's not.
I ate 10,000 calories in a day to restore my metabolism, and I've been eating 4,000 plus calories every day for the past 8 months. So you're just going to gain weight. Hi, Syndicate. Yes, this is Isaac Butterfield. Man, I'm from across the Atlantic. Some things don't reach here. The thyroid problem is that she has an unhealthy thyroid. Brazil nuts will actually help that. He is funny. I like Isaac Butterfield. He's a great YouTuber. He's one of 2 YouTubers that I am actually subscribed to that are from Australia. The other one being Sydney Watson.
A bodybuilder. She's not an ultra marathon runner. She's not running fucking anywhere. She doesn't need 5,000 fucking calories. My maintenance calories per day is around about 3,000. I'm 6'8" and about 105 kilos at the moment, okay? And that's thanks to the Better Dad app. I went down from 116 at Christmas, so Quick plug for Better Dad app. Good on us. The Wagner Way is this lady. Her name is Sarah Wagner. She is a food freedom and fitness person. Very good.
Diet culture conditioned people to judge people based on their body appearance. And something must not be going well if a body is changing and a body is healing. Diet culture literally conditioned people to think that.
So she goes through on here and talks about how important it is for women to eat enough. And I don't disagree with that.
Been watching for... Yeah, Sydney, I believe she moved to Texas. I'm with you. I've been clean and sober for 32 years. If you need help to any degree, I'd be glad to help. It's nice to know that all y'all are here and wanting to help me.
At all. In the caption, she says, I may need more than 5,000 calories. Last month, I've been feeling extremely fatigued and bloated, and a deep kind of fatigue that you can't shake. Knowing my body, I know it needed nourishment. She said she started with 3,000, then 4,000, and all the way up to 5,000. You do not need 5,000 calories to avoid fatigue. You're probably eating shit food. Okay, number one, those 5,000 calories. Eating 5,000 calories of healthy food.
I feel there's not enough positivity given out to people trying to better their health itself in general. Like, I will, every chance I get, cheer people doing great. Of course, you're my friend, girlfriend. I like friends because I love friends and I want to see them. Yeah. For me, personally, I'm just tired of being basically constantly tired. I have like almost no energy even. I'm tired of being fat.
Is difficult to do. She says that she needs more. She may need more than 5,000 calories. And she puts it down to helping her metabolic, thyroid, and overall health. And she also lists that she is 5'10" and currently breastfeeding. I don't give a shit how tall you are as a woman. I don't give a shit if you're breastfeeding 8 children. You do not need 5,000 calories. And this is a shit fucking thing to put out there into the ether, because women are going to see this and go, I feel fucking tired. I'm a mother. Of course I'm fucking tired. I'm going to eat 5,000 calories. You just got to put weight on.
I cannot stress this enough. If you care about liberation, you must unpack your internalized anti-fatness. Fat phobia is rooted in colonialism, racism, and white...
Yeah, fat phobia is rooted in racism, colonialism, white supremacy, sexism, all the isms and phobias. I hate this. There's no such thing as fat phobia. We are not afraid or we don't hate fat people. We just are sick of y'all trying to make any excuse you can to get society to accept the fact that you made poor choices. You keep shoving food down your fat fucking face and get the entire world to accept you for being a dumbass. They're doing this because they don't like to take the road less traveled. All these people want to do is take the easy route out because they don't want to work for anything. And the easiest route they can take is to constantly keep shoving food down their fat fucking face and try to change how people see fat people. Fatness should not be accepted because it is unhealthy and it causes 90% of the health problems that a lot of people have. And it causes you to die an early death. When all it does is just prove their own insecurity about themselves is why they demand we tolerate it. See, a lot of the problems I would have, I guarantee you, would disappear the instant I lost weight. My back problem, knee problem, my feet... My constant tiredness, my low energy, a lot of my problems would disappear once I got in shape. And yet these people refuse to accept the truth. It's horrible.
Really? This lady, whoever the fuck she is, genuinely believes, wakes up every single day and says, fat phobia. People who are scared of fat people, like all good people should be. They are scared of fat people because white people 200, 300 years ago approached different parts of the world and set up little camps there. That's why people are scared of fat people. That's why they wake up in the middle of the night screaming about obesity. That's why they wake up in the middle of the night sweating because insulin levels are going through the fucking roof. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the reason. Captain James Cook, when he discovered Australia, the reason that he stayed here was because he couldn't find any fat people. That's the only fucking reason. That's what motivated him to get out of England. Everyone was stealing bread, smashing carbs, getting fat, and he was like, fuck these fat people. I need to get to Australia quick. They're eating lean meat like kangaroo down there. Get me there tomorrow. And it was beautiful.
I guarantee you, if people knew just how much the entire continent was trying to kill everything that tries to live there, nobody would probably have gone there. Accepting the truth implies that they have to work to actually be accepted or respected instead of just existing. That's their nightmare. Yeah. They want to be accepted for just existing as a fat person. They want people to accept that their choice is the right one, because it's just it's all mental gymnastics that is exhausting in itself.
For the convicts on the ships too, they all had scurvy. They couldn't fucking eat anything. They were eating rats on the ships, so they all turned up malnourished, looking hot, looking trimmed with their summer bods, ready for Bondi fucking Beach. Anyway, let's see what she has to say.
Sabrina Strings proves this in her book, Fearing the Black Body.
Fearing the Black Body. Shut up, Sabrina Strings. And have a go at the booty at the back there. What's happening? Jesus Christ. That's an old BBL if ever I've seen one. That looks like she's had a couple of concrete bags fucking thrown in there.
Showing how today's obesity epidemic is actually just a new form of centuries-old fear.
The fear of the imagined fat black woman was created by racial and religious ideologies that have been used to both degrade black women and discipline white women. What the fuck was all that verbal diarrhea I just read?
Of black women.
Obesity epidemic is... What the fuck does that sentence even mean? Our obesity epidemic, the reason that so many people are overweight is because of centuries of racism and fear of black women. What the fuck does that even mean?
Notice how the return of heroin chic lines up perfectly with the rise of conservative values? That's not an accident. If you follow any eating disorder experts, you've...
Okay, I'll tell you what men find attractive. Healthy women. That has been the truth throughout history. The healthier a woman, the more attractive she is. And you can say that there's been time periods where people look at fat women and they're like, yeah, that's the healthiest woman. You can say that all you fucking want. You can say whatever the fuck you want. Men find healthy women attractive. End of story.
A fat person could literally get drop kicked out of an airplane mid-flight because they realized they didn't have enough gas to make it all the way there, so they needed to cut down on weight. And people on the internet would be like, well, that's the wake-up call. She needed to turn her life around.
I agree. No more fat people on planes. In case you forgot, this is what a real body looks like. Dude, you're...
It's actually surprising to see a... Wait, is this a man or is this a trans?
You're obese. Which is not nice to say, but it is. Like, you...
Okay. It's surprising to see a man on here doing this. Because this might sound bad. The majority, like 99% of the videos you find of people doing this sort of dumb shit is women. Men don't normally do this because they get they get attacked by other men.
And I say this with...
Dude, they almost had a video of me there. I got in trouble with the automatic. Yeah, it censored Shut It and Fatty LMAO. I'll hit allow. There you go.
Would love, because I've looked like that in the past, and I know it doesn't feel good. You don't want to be like that. You feel slow, you feel tired, you feel shit, you're not eating a good diet. Soft belly, you don't want a soft, why would you want a soft belly? This is not what a real, no, don't get me wrong.
That is what an unhealthy body looks like.
I'm not proud of how my body is right now. I've got loose skin because I was overweight, all that type of shit, but I'm proud of how I train. And I'm proud of how I eat and all that type of shit. Like, I'm working on it. Why? Because I want to live longer. I want to be able to play with my son for longer, his kids, all that type of shit. That's why I started the Better Dad app. Anyway, this guy right here.
Yeah, this is an unhealthy looking body. It's not as unhealthy as my body, but this is not a healthy body. In comments, I saw women prop each other up, even the obese ones. Meanwhile, in male friend groups, you will be told, I know 3 fat people and you are 2 of them. Men will accept you either way, but want you better. Yeah. Men, I believe, are a lot more raw and real with each other. And a lot more honest with each other than, as mean as it sounds, than women are with each other.
What he's doing and talk about back fat and all this type of stuff, like, this is not helpful. And he's talking about fucking creases under the eyes and body positivity for men. Dudes, gents.
The one thing I find surprising is when somebody's losing weight, the first place you'll see the weight loss is in their face. I always found that really funny, is that the first place to be really noticeable for weight loss is always the face. Same, I want to be able to keep up with my boys. It's why I'm doing what I can to lose weight. I don't want fluff words. I want advice to improve myself. I think people, they need real raw criticism and, you know, honesty when it comes to that sort of shit, because the way those women prop each other up, even the obese ones, is it doesn't do anything good for the person. It doesn't get them to want to improve. It doesn't bring them back to reality. It keeps them in their fantasy world that keeps them unhealthy and possibly die early.
Listen up. If you're worried about fucking creases and wrinkles, fuck off. You fucking weak. Today I didn't need a seatbelt extender for the first time in over a decade. Here's how I did it. The airline designed a seatbelt long enough to fit me. Wow, I was really hoping you were going to say I lost some weight and now I fit in the fucking seatbelt. No, you were just excited because a giant corporation has decided, holy shit, these people don't fit anymore. They keep eating. We need bigger fucking seatbelts. Well done, I guess. Well fucking done.
I think it's a real problem when a lot of companies just finally give up and just cater to these retarded fat fucks just so they can feel better about themselves. It's like, why? Why are we bowing to these people? Why are we kowtowing to these people? They're not getting the dose of reality that these people need to wake the fuck up from their retardation. And a really big problem with being fat, finding clothes is hard as fuck. Fuck it, I'm gonna start. Yeah, it gets significantly harder and harder to find clothes that, like, for me, it's hard enough to find clothes that is long enough to cover my fucking stomach, especially when I'm reaching up for something. I don't want my stomach to just hang out of my stomach when I reach up for something. I want my shirts long enough to hide my stomach away. So it's just, I can't stand the people who say being fat is good, being fat is healthy. Fuck you. You shouldn't be on these, you shouldn't be on social media saying this shit, because kids are seeing this shit, and kids are very impressionable. They're like sponges. They'll believe you. And now you're turning kids fat. The one horrible thing I saw, and this, yes, it was a black lady. This kid who looked like they looked like they weren't even 10 years old yet. This kid looked like it was, who, like I said, who looked like they were not even 10 years old yet. Looked like they were 300 fucking pounds. And they were at a park, and she took like 30 seconds to a minute to go up 3 or 4 steps. I looked at that kid and I was like, what the fuck? Do your parents not love you? How are you, as a parent, okay with your child becoming bigger than the fucking Michelin Man at younger than 10 years old? You have severely failed as a fucking parent at that point. A bigger punch to the gut is seeing old photos of yourself. Damn, I look good back then. What the fuck happened? My youngest is stocky, but he is strong as a damn quarterback. These people came of age after no bullying campaign started. Yeah, it's like, I get that we're trying to stop bullying because bullying is not the best thing to deal with, not the best thing to have. But it's just, we're coddling these people too much. We're spoiling these people too much. They're not seeing any consequences. If they've done anything bad, we coddle them and tell them that it's going to be okay. We failed. We have severely failed these people. No, happy. I'm a fat fuck. People would rather live in a delusional society than see reality. I think it went from one extreme to another, from too much bullying to not even saying the truth. At some point, they have to face it. Yeah. Hello, Renegade. All right, the next video we have here is from Pink Elf DJ. And this one is called Ambitious Haiku. So let's see what this is about, shall we?
Well, this is rather dull, isn't it?
Pink-haired elf plays songs, dances in codes endless void, dreams a world anew. Souls bloom to life. Pixels bloom to life. Her fingers weave binary. Meadows start to form. Grass and emerald code. Flowers nod in gentle loops. Sunrise, subroutine. Rivers of light flow. Birds
I like this so far.
Harmony installed. She adds ancient trees, whispers of wind through branches, and digital breath stirs.
Wow.
Mountains rise, it stacks clouds, dressed on random seeds, vista without end. Butterflies emerge, wings of fractal elegance, shakes the virtual breeze. Her ambition swells, layers upon a layer stack, world expands unchecked. Castles in the sky, oceans deep with den of fish, stars and infinite.
A lot of pink.
She craves much more, cities pulse with neon hearts, crowds of friends now roam.
Oh, cool. We have Antibot, Pseudo, Kinney, and a leaflet. I can't really see who this is yet.
pink to start to creep. Edges fray like torn fabric. Colors bleed and warp. Music loops distort. Melodies twist into noise. Symphony unravels. Overrated crew bite. Systems overload and crash. Echoes fade to black. Her songs slip away. Lost in corrupted files. Silence claims the realm. Meadows turn
Oh no, her pink is gone.
Ambition's harsh lesson once more. She rebuilds again. Ink hair dims in grief. Yet in the reboot, a single note lingers on. Hope fades, darkness builds.
Oh, look at that. That was really good. I like it. Was like Renegade said, it was an interesting concept and it was well put together. I couldn't tell who that dude was with the red cape, but that was a really good video. The saying the truth will set you free is not the truth. Finally put one of my songs in your act. Okay, I'll check it out later, Apsu. I like that one. That was a good one, Pink Elf. You did a good job. The eyes. Good job, Pink. That was a good one. All right, this next one is by Endymion TV. And it is called Resident Evil Requiem Just Exposed the Dead Internet. So let us see exactly what about the dead internet that this game has exposed.
Something really weird is happening, and I don't see enough people talking about it, but it not only shows how far gone a lot of the games industry has become over the last few years alone, but how the future of game critique and how we access information could be changed forever if things keep going like this. So I want to talk about Resident Evil Requiem, but more importantly, how that whole concept, the whole dead internet theory thing. In case you somehow don't know what that even means, let me explain that first. You see, the dead internet theory is a conspiracy theory that claims that since around 2016 or so, that the entire internet is now just primarily full of bot accounts and content that is manipulated by algorithm tools instead. The idea is that these bots are being used to control the populace and reduce the amount of interactions that each real human being has with one another. Have you ever gone on Twitter or wherever else and just see random accounts with 2 followers trying to argue you or bait you or something? Chances are those people are bots. They're all designed to make you rage bait into what they want you to do in the first place. Basically, you're falling for a trap is what it is. So now that you know what the theory is, we kind of just saw it.
That is an interesting theory. I mean, because there are a lot of bot accounts that are just posting random shit and trying to get, clicks and engagement, and they're just basically engagement farming or rage baiting.
Happen in real time, and it's becoming more and more alarmingly present as time proceeds. You see, the dead internet theory is not really a theory. In my opinion, it's actually real, and not even the video games industry can escape from it. So what does this have to do with Resident Evil? Well, Requiem came out, it did gangbusters, people loved the game, and it scored very high on Metacritic, which was great for them. However, what was really weird was that one review that I saw was suspiciously out of place. It was this one from the videogamer.com. I brought this up in a video about a week ago, but the more I looked into it, man, the weirder it got. So here's the image that videogamer.com used for their Requiem review. Immediately, you can tell that it's AI generated. That's not even Grace Ashcroft, and there's no zombies that look like the zombies in the background of...
Oh yeah, that's that is even, yeah, you can easily tell that's AI generated. All the bot posting definitely puts a damper on people wanting to interact with posts that even give a hint of bot language or anything. Well, it's... What can we really do, Nightway?
That image that are in the game either. Weirder still is the tagline, Capcom's gore-soaked series finale, which also doesn't make sense because Requiem is not a series finale of the series at all. It's very obvious that Resident Evil as a franchise will continue, especially given how high those sales numbers were in the first place.
I've always had the thought that if Resident Evil was ever going to officially end, they would have to go either one of two ways. One, either all of the main big characters, you know, Chris Redfield, Leon Kennedy, Jill Valentine, Ada Wong, and Claire Redfield, all of them would have to either retire or they would have to die. Because once all of them are gone, that should be the official end of Resident Evil. That's how it should officially end. Either they all die or they all retire. Because they're, you know, too old.
Anyway, the entire thing stinks already. None of this makes any sense. Even the opening paragraph feels suspicious, which says this: Resident Evil Requiem is not just a victory lap for Capcom's survival horror dynasty. It is a chainsaw-revving, blood-soaked testament to why we love getting scared stupid. It is the sort of finale that effectively grabs the franchise by the lapels, shakes it violently, and demands you acknowledge just how far it has come since the tank-controlled days of 1996. While other series limp toward their conclusions, Resident Evil 9 arrives with the confidence of a tyrant smashing through a brick wall. Again, Video Gamer keeps referring to Requiem as a finale, when it isn't that at all. Then there's the final verdict, as you can see here. So Video Gamer gave Requiem...
Hell, the way Requiem ended, it indicates that there's going to be another one.
A 9 out of 10. A great score. Yet again, the side info there is really weird. They talk about how you should...
Yeah, for me personally, I would give Requiem a 9 out of 10. I can't give anything a 10 out of 10 because that would imply that it is perfect and there is absolutely nothing wrong in any way, shape, or form. I can't give anything that because there's no such thing as perfection. The highest I can give anything is a 9.9, and that's it. But damn, does this game come close to perfection.
Check out the pre-order bonuses, which is odd, and then at...
I had the only problems I had was the audio desync, but I think that was mainly because of my computer being older. I wish it would too, Depths, but it doesn't like to do that. I don't know why.
The end there, it says that the game is the finale that the fans deserve. Again, this is not the finale, so what are they doing there? Then you look at the author of this game review, which is this guy here named Brian Marigold. So this is Brian Marigold, who is apparently a video game analyst who likes to cover new technologies, whatever that means. Even weirder still, if you click Brian's profile on the website, you then get a better picture of his supposed background. As you can see here where I highlighted, Brian is apparently a lifelong gamer who loves open world games and multiplayer titles. In case you haven't figured it out yet, the truth is that Brian Marigold never played Resident Evil, and he's never been a lifelong gamer. It's all because Brian Marigold doesn't exist. His entire profile is AI. In fact, all of VideoGamer.com's supposed journalists who work on that site churning out articles daily are also, in fact, not real people. You see, originally VideoGamer.com had a thriving thriving website with a YouTube presence as well, where they would have real people making real content for you to watch on various game topics. For whatever reason, Video Gamer was eventually gutted from the top down. Everybody was let go from the site, and then it was sold off to a Maltese company named Clickout Media. And before anyone says this is an anti-AI video, no, I'm not hating on AI here, okay? But the ethics involved in this story are kind of crazy, so I gotta speak on it, so just allow me to. So this new owner is a company with heavy ties to things like cryptocurrency and gambling, and now the entire website is being ran by bots. Weirder still is that this review for Resident Evil Requiem actually affected Capcom's latest game's Metacritic score too. Obviously in a positive way, because again it was a 9 out of 10, but upon finding out that Video Gamer was not being run by real people, Metacritic removed that review from their website and banned VideoGamer.com's contributions to any other game review they post in the future because again, they're not real. For example, here's one of the editors of VideoGamer.com, Shooter Orson, who's apparently a biker enthusiast that works at Video Gamer and lives in Portland, but again, he doesn't...
The way this thing is, it doesn't even seem like a real person is running that page. He's a gamer, writer, biker enthusiast, post my thoughts on science, technology, and video games. I had it for a site called...
exist either. But what made the Resident Evil Requiem review even more suspicious was that it was a review released when the embargo lifted that detailed what was in the game. However, the problem was that obviously they didn't play Requiem because this reviewer never existed anyways. This meant instead that Video Gamer's review of Requiem was an AI generated script composing of every other games industry article on the game prior to the game's official release, meaning that nothing that they said in the review was actually accurate because the information they pulled from was not from articles where they played the full game or had reviewed it obviously. One look at the VideoGamer.com's review of
Only thing I've given 9.9 out of 10 to is Dot Pockets, our seal of approval. One, because need more seals. I actually have that in the lineup for reactions. We're not going to be able to get to it today because it's almost 6. But it is in the lineup for reactions.
Requiem immediately starts to show the cracks. Like, let me read you this paragraph which says, "The genius here lies in the duality. Playing as Leon Kennedy feels like slipping into an old, trustworthy leather jacket, specifically one armed with a tactical shotgun and a bad attitude. His segments are pure third-person catharsis, refining the parry and kick rhythm of the Resident Evil 4 remake into a violent ballet that rewards aggression. Then the game rudely shoves you into the perspective of Grace Ashcroft and the power fantasy evaporates. Grace's sections shift to first-person dread, evoking the raw helplessness of early survival horror in a way that feels beautifully cruel. It's really interesting how the review claims that Leon's gameplay is only in third person, while Grace's is only in first person, which is true to a degree that those are the default viewpoints for each."
I think when it comes to playing as Grace, the game is best... You get the best experience playing first person, and when it comes to Leon, you get the best experience playing third person. But that's just what I think, and I mean, you get a better horror experience in first person with Grace.
Each character in the...
I don't know about that. Ashley's new segment in RE4 Remake was pretty horrifying.
Game. However, if this were a real review, they would have mentioned how Capcom has now allowed you to alternate between that third or first person view for each character from the settings, which means you can play it however you want to. Which again, Video Gamer here does not claim that because they're basing this review on the impressions from other websites. It gets worse though, because this is the paragraph that immediately follows the one I just read before, which reads, "It is a stark design philosophy that honestly shouldn't work, yet it creates a rhythm of tension and release that is masterful. Frankly, switching between head-popping action and hiding in cupboards gave us whiplash, but the good kind. You aren't just surviving, you are learning two entirely different languages of fear." Okay, so first of all, you can't hide in any cupboards in Requiem at all. In fact, you can't even hide in lockers either. I think like the only...
you can't really hide in anything when it comes to Requiem. You have to hide under stuff or behind things. You can't hide in anything. There's nothing to hide in. The moments where Grace was tripping every third step trying to run from the light averting monster does raise the blood pressure in both anger and fear. I like the first person because when it comes to running away, you can always hear them, but you can never tell how close they are to you. Gotta hide from Ariana Grande. She hears all, sees all.
Hiding place, I guess, maybe is like under a bed when you play a flashback sequence, but that's later on in the game. And mentioning that the Stark design philosophy, as Brian Marigold puts it, that
is this reality's way of telling us slowly we are all in a simulation? Yeah, probably, Nightway.
Shouldn't work, but does, that also makes no sense. Like, what's Stark design philosophy? You mean the stark difference between playing a Resident Evil game and also a Resident Evil game? Okay, sure, Leon's gameplay harkens more to Resi 4 or 5, I get that, while Grace is more in line with Resi 7 or 8, but those are still from the same franchise. There's no difference in a sense, they are both valid. Again, it comes off very weird because it is. But it somehow just keeps getting worse because as seen here, they then label this next part as Leon's Last Dance, which makes no sense because this game is not the final game to feature Leon at all. Without delving into spoilers, let's just say that Capcom is obviously not done with Leon to any capacity following the events of Requiem for good reason.
I think Leon has another good 2 or 3 games in him before he's finally too old to be doing this.
Not to mention, at the end of that same paragraph, they claim that the game features a chainsaw cult. What? Correct me if I'm wrong, but there is never once the word spoken that there is a cult of zombies in Requiem that worship chainsaws of all things. Yes, okay, yeah, there are sequences with chainsaws, I get that, specifically in the hospital as Leon, and again in a gas station later on in the game, but they're not cults.
I think you run into the chainsaw zombies maybe, if I remember correctly, I think there's only like 3 or 4 of them throughout the entire time you play as Leon. If this is a simulation, can I have a reboot, please? Wait, Leon's not retiring? My man is 50. What is he going to be next? Roundhouse kicking zombies at the retirement home? I don't know, probably.
They're just zombies. As seen here in that final paragraph of the review, the so-called Brian Marigold doesn't even cover anything really. He just says that the game looks nice and that it stutters on the Switch 2 apparently. The entire review, which is a few short paragraphs at best, doesn't talk about anything besides surface level details. There's no mentions of the boss fights, Grace's blood mechanic, which is really important, or even Leon's experience system that he gets later on either. Nothing that actually defines the game.
I really liked the blood mechanic. That was a great addition to the game. Especially those injection things.
Is spoken about because, again, this is not a real review, but it is being pushed as one, and that is actually crazy. The only other review this Brian guy did for Video Gamer was this one on God of War Sons of Sparta. Interestingly, even the review's titles have similar used words too. God of War here is blood-soaked, while the Resident Evil one is gore-soaked. Yeah, we can tell which prompts...
Yeah, it worked on the chef and Chunk. Although Chunk, I think you needed like 3 or 4 hemolytic injectors, but the chef you only needed 1.
are being used behind the scenes now, can't we?
Although if you wanted, you can use that blind zombie. All you had to do was throw empty glass bottles. So if you threw one at Chunk and the blind zombie hit Chunk, it would have killed him in 1 hit.
entire thing, it comes off as weird, and the gamer.com, as also seen here, confirms that apparently Google has removed videogamer.com from their search engines when it comes to reviews, at least, because they're not using real people to do them anymore. This isn't the only website that has done this, by the way. I mean, The Escapist, which used to have people like Yahtzee Khrushchev, Zero Punctuation there, if you don't know, they laid off everybody there like a few years ago, right? The bulk of The Escapist then went off to make Second Wind, which is really, let's be honest, only being held together, unsurprisingly, by Yahtzee Khrushchev's contributions to that channel, but that's not really surprising. Anyways, weirdly enough though, if you go to The Escapist YouTube channel right now, which has 1 million subscribers and then some, they are now only churning out, as you can see here, AI generated thumbnails and videos about gambling to their YouTube users. The Escapist is even using AI images of streamers like XQC and Trainwreck in their thumbnails in order to lure people in and click. That's a whole other website completely also replaced by AI journalists that only exists now to funnel their readers to their gambling website alternatives where that real money gets made for them. Essentially, this means that games like Requiem are also being used as Trojan horses by these people to lure anyone they can into consuming these websites' content, only to, push them into gambling and crypto, which is really weird and creepy if you ask me. Then there's Tom Ori, that's one of the co-founders of videogamer.com back in the day. He had this to say about how the entire games industry basically blacklisted the website he founded due to what it represents now. Here's what he said: "I remember making Video Gamer Pro G back then, sat in the tiniest bedroom in a university house share in Brighton. It was my entire life for a very long time. I hope people remember it for what it meant to people and not the abomination it is today." Then you have Lewis White, that was another editor who worked at videogamer.com back in the day, who also recently tweeted this, which confirms that Google has actually de-indexed the website completely from their search engines. Which you need to realize how bad that is to happen to you. This means that video...
You know how bad you have to be for Google itself and other search engines to delete you out of their search? You know how much you have to fuck up? I mean, I know Google has gotten rid of some things, but you have to really fuck up for search engines to delete you out of their search engine.
Gamer as a website can no longer show up on any search engines when it comes to trending topics or anything else involving SEO, or search engine optimization, in case you don't know. This means that the only way to access the website now is to specifically look it up directly via Google. Otherwise, you're not going to find it. Was this because of the Resident Evil Requiem fake review? According to Lewis White, as you can see here, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Although the company that runs and owns Video Gamer now has allegedly, according to Lewis, been in trouble for a while now with regulators already, which, gee, I wonder why. Meaning that the hammer was going to fall one way or another eventually, I guess. But also, as seen here, videogamer.com was still releasing content, although not nearly as frequently as it once was. It looks like the last time they released actual news was on about March 5th or March 6th, 2026, which likely coincides with the time period of when they got removed from the search engines too, which means the moment they got ousted as effectively being ran by bots, whoever, I guess, is running the website behind the scenes by, like, a human capacity, obviously immediately stopped the farming of the content because it would not show up anymore. One of Video Gamer's last reviews were for Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. As you can see here, they gave it a 9 out of 10, with the only negative being its premium price point, which doesn't make sense because the game is $20. That's not a premium price point. Premium price is what AAA games cost today, which is usually $70 American. So calling this remaster premium doesn't feel right, but again, it's written by, oh, look at that, the Shooter Orson guy again. Remember the guy who's apparently a biker enthusiast? Like, what did we expect? It's kind of bleak to see, I gotta admit, and I completely understand why the various games journalists that are real people are freaking out about this, because it does threaten their positions. Because it would mean if this trend were to continue like it is now, then in the future of game...
Thank God, I am so thankful I missed that fucking spider part. I mean, I'll probably eventually I'll eventually stream the game again because it is just that fun of a game to play. I might do it on one difficulty higher, but I'm not sure.
criticism, so to speak, it wouldn't really belong to the people who even play games anymore, but just machines that are optimized for engagement metrics and such, and that's pretty much it. Of course, since this whole story circles around Metacritic as a website, that's actually why it's such a big deal in the first place, because you really need to understand the amount of power that Metacritic has as a website even to this day. Publishers are tracking that website obsessively. Developers' bonuses even are tied to the numbers attached to the games that they worked years on too. Studios, they have been shut down for missing the higher scores because it then leads to lower sales, which obviously just makes everything go down. Like, the entire review ecosystem has been warped around the existence of Metacritic. But with the emergence of, let's just call them AI journalists, that is now threatening another thing that these games journalists worship too, which is what I can only really call access journalism. You know, getting to go to the preview events that help them shape the narratives, getting those review copies sent if they are favorable to those publishers in the past, and then some. You see, for years already, the entire review process was already questionable because it was really hard to believe that game reviewers actually cared about the games that they played or received for free. Like, I'm still halfway convinced that most of them don't even beat the games they review these days either, which is why the existence...
Yeah, these game reviewers, I swear, like, they play like maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and I'm being generous with that, of the game, and then they write the review instead of playing the entire game. It's like, how is anybody supposed to take your review in any sort of serious way if you never even played through the entirety of the game? Hell, you probably barely made it out of the fucking tutorial before you made your goddamn, review of the game. I can't really trust these reviewers. The only ones I can really trust are the ones that I see on Steam, because most of them they actually fucking play the game. Yeah, I remember that, Happy. That was pretty horrible.
Of AI journalists are so threatening to these types, because if this new way of access media, if you will, then becomes a trend, that these journalists will lose what they believe legitimizes their existence within the game space. And if these synthetic voices start influencing the scores of games, right, the algorithm will then start grading these games based on feedback that was written by non-human hands, which will then create a Pandora's box level feedback loop that will be hard to return from. The reason why this is scary is because this then leads to a sterile-like feedback loop of non-human generated content that ends up replacing real critiques. Like, AAA studios are already chasing approval metrics all of the time. Like, all of the time. Publishers, as we all know, they only really listen to the summaries that are given to them via these algorithms over real players' words already. But when these summaries are being handed down to the developers by the publishers to start adjusting their game design decisions based on what's been collected and presented.
At least with YouTube reviewers, you normally just see how much they play. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would probably be okay with a reviewer if they've played at least half the game. At the very least, half the game.
Which can be influenced by fake journalists like that Scooter Shooter guy or whatever his name was, and Brian. That messes everything up. It then becomes a creative vacuum, right? Because if such a thing is allowed to fester, it means that games won't be made in the future to inspire you or be loved as art. They will instead be driven by systems that are built around scoring well, which is then influenced by blatantly obvious artificial analysis instead. This would just lead to an industry already pretty much cooked to now think that these algorithms that are being pushed are...
Honestly, only AI that should be banned is Grammarly and anything like that. Like, we already have an illiteracy problem in the US, and Grammarly isn't helping.
Positive stuff that they want from their players, but that isn't what it actually is, because it's not what they really feel, because it's not real, and that could mess up things even more than it already is. Obviously, this isn't Capcom's fault or Resident Evil's. They just happened to be the game that was at the center of all of this due to the mere chance, I guess, of it happening. If not then someone else would have taken the spot instead, right? Either way, though, this is a really bad thing to see fester like this, because this would just create, I guess, how would would I say this, an algorithm-esque echo chamber, if you will. All of these systems stealing from each other's reviews, generating impressions and summaries, publishing their analysis as if they were real, which then gets picked up by other rival systems. All of this recycling until eventually, like the conversation and what's real or not around a game, then becomes completely detached from what it really is. Sure, you might get frustrated because you probably want authentic information on a game. I don't blame you. But the data that would be flowing from this would end up saying something entirely different. And then the publishers, again, who are just obsessed with analytics, will just believe that those numbers are real over anything that you have to say to them today. If you think games feel manufactured now, imagine how bad it would get if all the information these types take in comes from people who don't even exist, like Brian Marigold. It becomes a slow replacement of authentic content, and that is really, really scary.
I think my generation was the last to have handwriting a prerequisite to graduating. I think my generation was the last one to actually have classes where they teach you fucking cursive.
That's already a problem, but the collapse would just be even further and faster. And remember, it's already next to impossible to make AAA publishers take those risky ideas with their core franchises, because they just kind of make the same games with the same formulas over and over because it works for them. That risk-averse mentality will become like adamantium levels of Unbreakable, dude. And then everything will just be designed for like engagement, and that's pretty much it. And then like when that even happens, right? The games that you'll be looking forward to, they're not going to feel alive. They're just going to feel manufactured. Way more than they usually do, which is kind of crazy to think, but that's what would happen here. Look, for decades, the concept of criticism, as flawed as it is, at least it comes from the lived-in human experience to a degree. Sure, we can all like argue about things. You do it, I do it, especially. Everyone on Twitter is like in a constant war zone of God knows what every single day too about something. But in that sea of toxicity where everyone is yelling, there needs to be something that we do remember, right? That all of that comes, no matter how misguided, from some sort of passion at its core. But if these systems replace the human conversation, then the future of not just gaming criticism, but real authentic speak between two humans that's often messy and emotional process, then it just gets replaced by sterile metrics instead, and we don't want that. Then everything becomes predictable, right? Synthetic even. The part that worries me though is that the publishers might actually like that better, because algorithms are likely easier to please than the real users. But if this continues the way that it is, rapidly evolving, then the conversation about games and movies, whatever it is, it no longer belongs to any one community. It'll just belong to these machines that interpret everything that they want to see and how they want to see fit and all that. And once that happens, dude, like the soul of gaming criticism, of like loving games, talking about them, just entertainment in general, it might as well as disappear completely. Look, again, right? I don't hate AI. I get why it exists. It can be useful, but this one example here in this very one specific like story, yeah, I don't know, man. Feeling like this is crazy. It's all I gotta say. But I'm sure some would honestly prefer this, since let's be real, a lot of people in games today tend to review things based on their politics or their feelings over objective things in these games. It happens all the time. How many times have we seen games get lower scores because the reviewer wasn't happy with something a dev said or they don't agree with politically? It's never not annoying. Some may say an AI journalist who just gives you the information.
Yeah, see, when it comes to rating a game, it should be based purely on the game. You shouldn't lower the score just because you don't like what a dev said or what a voice actor said or any stupid shit like that outside of the game. You are reviewing the game. Only be criticizing the game. That's it. I guess I'm the youngest here. When I graduated, cursive wasn't a requirement, but writing 400 to 500 word essays were the norm. I'm still impressed at how well you were able to breeze through the Requiem.
With no BS attached might be better than the green-haired feminist who's yelling about the patriarchy, but I guess that depends on who you ask. Either way, this still confirms that the entire concept of the dead internet theory is not really a theory anymore, because we're living it right now, guys. There are people who don't exist everywhere. You likely argued with someone who doesn't have a physical body over something on Twitter once, and you didn't even know it. How many times have you watched a video and the person behind it isn't even real? Like, all of this and more is freaky. Like, the amount of times even even I get accused of having an AI voice when I'm definitely not a robot myself is annoying, dude. Like, I'm a real dude, okay? Like, even in this video, there's like word mistakes that I say. I'm just gonna leave them in because, again, I'm human. What do you want me to do? If you don't believe me, go look up my shorts or anything else I've done. I promise I'm not a brain in like a giant machine living with other brains in some facility in a jar. As for Brian Marigold and that shooter scooter, whatever his name was, it looks like they might be out of a job at Video Gamer. But I don't feel bad because after all, they never existed anyways. But what do you think about all of this? Let me know. Subscribe if you like to. Have a good day and always dig deeper, guys. Ask questions. That's the best way to do it. Thank you. See you next time.
Fun! Well, separating the art from the artist is a dying art, as now people hate you for who you spend time with, or even when you don't say the thing they want. Yeah, oh, he didn't say the thing. We're gonna hate him now. Oh, he said the thing. We're gonna love him now. It's so fucking stupid. Alright, one more video. One more video. This one is by Little Reaper Jr. And it is called The Endless Arena. Connor the King. I saw Depps reacting to this one, so I was like, I saw a little bit of it. I made sure not to see the entire thing. So let's check it out.
Everything's a fight. Frustration boils. Rage! Dreams crushed under boots of the ones holding sway. Injustice hits hard, leaving scars every day. The hell's the king, just the one who grabs hold. Powers the fire, burns through the lies they sold. Everything's a war. Words cut like steel, trace and trap. Battles big or small. Use every trick in your lap. With a muscle head on.
Looks really good.
Frustration claws at your mind. Self-doubt, creeping, smash and leave weakness behind. See the red days coming. Problems rising tall. Foes closing in. No backing down at all. Scrum your problem. Fight your foe. Scream your fury. Break the throw. Blind rage, crash and see in red. Shatter the cage. No honor holds me. Powers my stand. From nothing I rise. Claim the crown through the pain. Through fucking rage.
Damn. I love this music.
World's one big pit, every step's a brutal test. Authority mocks you, yet fighters earning trust.
Leaflet.
For their cause, stand tall in the fray. That's the
Louis
spark, a
verse.
salute, not the
I think it's supposed to be a Tommy.
Frustration boils over, anger fuels the climb. Injustice everywhere, but I carve my time. Make the chains of doubt, the whispers that drag low. Power through body and will the only way to go. Relentless drive, no quitting the storm. From the bottom you fight, reshape the norm. No mercy for the soft, no tears to fall. Everything's a battle, answer the call. Seeing red, blind fury, unbreakable law. Storm your problems, fight your foes. Scream your fury, break the throw. Blind rage, crash and see in red. Shatter the cage. No honor holds me.
Yeah, this does go hard. It's really good.
Rise, claim the crown through the pain. Through fucking rage. 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 From the depths I conquer. Rage. 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 From the depths I conquer. Rage. Fight never ends. I'm the king that came from nothing. The king with eternal rage. Oh, break your fucking rage.
Tommy, I think. Louis verse. Leaflet. I'm not sure who that one is. Celestium, I believe. Whoops. That was really good. Julie, okay. I really like that one. That was really good. Good job, Little Reaper Jr. Hello, Kurt. That was a great job. I like that one. Actually, I'm going to add that one to my list because that was really good. Add that to my list. There we go. Oh, yeah. All right. Yay, I can. All right, we're going to end the stream here because it is past 6 o'clock now. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope you all enjoyed the stream. I will be streaming tomorrow. I'll be making sure to get some more sleep. So, there we go. So we will be raiding Smug-Alana, the ever lovely Smug-Alana. I have just enough people to raid Smug. So yay me. So once again, thank you everyone for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. And I will see you all tomorrow. And enjoy Smug-Alana. Good night, everyone.
I don't believe that.